So, as I see, you have been very much involved with the art market right from the beginning, but there was not a course in the curriculum in the studies, I suppose. So,
But the thing is, I go to the art school and I do painting. And that's where I start. You know, there was at that time nobody talking about art business. There were no studies of how you make an invoice. There was no idea of what the art world was, but there were good teachers. And I think that this is a woman called Carmen Dionys, who was one of the first female sculptors with clay in Belgium. And this is Georges Jean-Claude, who was a teacher in Paris. He was a student of, in the line of the classical sculptors in France. They were very important in the sense that they opened up doors. But the major thing is that first you've got to be an artist before you are a businessman, or a lot of the times the two things go together. But I think it's important that you first do your work. So that's why in a lot of art schools before, the idea of business was taboo. You understand what I mean?
yes, yes. Now it's people are much more comfortable in talking about the market, talking about the prices.
Yeah, but you've got to be very careful because you are creating, that's what the art world has been created for the last 30 years, is you are creating art world professionals who know perfectly well how to make an invoice and a website and a file and talk with dealers and organize shipment, but they're basically making a product. They're no longer making art, they are making a derivative of art, they are making a product.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the dangers today, is that you're basically turning into a capitalist product. Mm-hmm. So if I change in your course of the young artist, they can sell handbags or they can sell artworks. It's basically, it's the same, almost, it turned into the same mechanisms. That's why I put this title, Clay Taboo, in the sense that when today people say Johan Creten, he was one of the people who reintroduced clay and ceramics in contemporary art. When I did that 30 years ago, it was considered a taboo and not done in contemporary art.
Yes.
What I mean with that is that you, as an artist, first you've got to, and as a dealer maybe also, first you've got to reinvent something new. First you've got to make work that is different. First you've got to invest your whole life in making a change in art, in the vision of what art can be, in the vision of what art can be for the future, for the community, for life in general. What is the place of art? Instead of what's happening today, making a product that is just a product like a handbag, and I've got nothing against handbags, but then just making a product that can be bought and sold. So I think that's why I put again here clay taboo. It's that for 30 years I struggled and I fought to make work that could be shown, but that was totally different from the conceptual, the minimal art that Jan Hoet would be showing at the museum. Because the importance is to make a new revolution. So, and I think that's something that's really important for everybody at every level. It's how to invent something else, something new.
Exactly.
Is that too serious?
I totally agree. I mean, while teaching this course, I want to I want to introduce students the market participants and let them talk for themselves. So that's why your contribution is extremely important for me. So now, do you think art students today, are they too much then aware of the market, the existence of such a market?
No, I'm not. I was very aware when I was selling my paintings in the cafe. I was very aware of what my market was. I was aware of, I don't think it's a bad thing. You need to be aware, you need to work on these things, but you have first of all to think about your art.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the most important thing. First, think about the art. And the problem is with a lot of dealers and with a lot of things that go on in the art world is that nobody talks anymore about, or the art itself has been maybe replaced by a subject more about the market than about the art. But I'm sure it's great that you learn English or any other language. I'm Flemish, so als ik in het Nederlands versta je helemaal niks. That's my language. You don't understand anything. I speak French.
No.
I understand German. I understand some Italian. I speak English. I mean, the fact of learning languages, and if it's Russian or Chinese, as a young artist, the more you know about the market, the more you know about the languages, the more you know about economics, the better it is. But it only has sense if you make art, or otherwise you become a dealer or a critic, or I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Now, coming to my next question. You graduated in 1985. In 1985, a fresh graduate from Paris Art School. That was the period where the market, art market, was at its boom. When you graduated, you felt that. Did you really enjoy this art boom as a new
The
graduate?
thing was, that's why I started here. I didn't, in the sense that I worked about clay taboo. The art market of the 80s is or painting or minimal.
Yeah.
When I start working, I work with clay. Clay is taboo. So the thing is, but I'm lucky because across from the art school in Paris, there is this gallery. And this gallery is called Rita and Anthony Meyer. And I would go to that gallery at least 1 or 2 times a week. And the gallery is a gallery of tribal art, art from Polynesia, Australia, tribal art. But I would go once a week, twice a week. And one day, Anthony says, "What do you do?" And I say, "I make this type of works." 1986. These are ceramic pieces. And the funny thing is, during the night, you see the picture here. I take the piece in my arms and I go and walk through Paris with that piece of ceramic sculpture in my arms. And I explained to Anthony that, in fact, here you see on the left, the piece laying down, me in the city. And I explained to Anthony the idea of la langue. La langue is
the tongue.
Tongue, and la langue is
the language.
Language. And so it's a piece that's about, it's also like roots of trees. It's also like a skull. There's an element that's almost most sexual. And it's a piece about what clay, what sculpture, what art means for me. And so Anthony Meyer says, in 1988, he says, "You can do a show in my gallery." It was a tribal art gallery, not a contemporary art gallery. The thing is, I do that show. And the wonderful thing is that at night, I take the pieces out of the gallery and I walk through Paris with the piece. So I didn't.
This is amazing. This is really, I love this photo, Paris at night, you with the
Paris at night, it was a different world, but it was very interesting to see how people would say, "Oh, he's crazy. He's obsessed. He's dangerous. He's an artist." So there were all these ideas about what art is, where is its place? Is its place in the gallery? Is its place on the street? Is its place just in a white box? What does it mean? All these questions I was asking myself as a young artist. So I don't care about the market. I don't care about, I want to sell my work, I want to show it, but I find a place to show it in a tribal art gallery where the meaning for tribal art, the meaning of artworks is that they have power, that
symbolic objects.
Yes, symbolical objects of meaning. What was very different from Donald Judd or Sol LeWitt or Kossuth, all these people that I love and I adore, but this was very different. So the fact is that in the 80s, the art world was not ready for my work.
I see, yes.
They were not. If I had made a painting, yes, maybe I would have been an enormous success in the 80s, but I wouldn't have made my revolution. So the thing is, no, first make your revolution. First make your, I made clay because in clay there was a place. Today there are hundreds, thousands of young artists working with ceramics. When I started in the 80s, there were none.
Yes. So contacting the Meyers was kind of a natural outcome for you, or?
But it was what I explained to them. That a big mistake of young artists is most of the time. We'll get to that. The mistakes, we'll get to that. No, the thing is, I went to that gallery every week. So I went to the galleries every week I was in the art world. I was going to see what people were doing everywhere. Not only Meyer, I would go to all the galleries. I remember seeing Cy Twombly's show at Yvon Lambert, the first show Cy did with Yvon in Paris at this new space. I remember seeing Frank Stella at the Pompidou, talking with him. I remember all these things. So I was really very interested in what was going on. But I also knew that what I was doing and what I wanted to do was not the same thing as what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So for the dealers, the most important thing, I think, is to know where your place is. I always, in Belgium, there's an expression that says every pot has this, how do you say, the
soil?
thing, it's cover.
Yeah.
Cover.
Yes.
Every pot has its cover.
Yes.
What means, if you have a pot and a big cover, they don't fit together.
In Turkish, we have a saying. Tencere yuvarlanır, kapağını bulur. In Turkish, we have a saying. Every pot somehow finds its cover.
Yeah, but what does it mean in Turkish?
In Turkish means that you suffer a lot, but finally you find out your true place, where you belong.
Yeah, but in Belgium, it's not about suffering. In Belgium, it's the idea that you've got to find the right fit.
Yes.
So the thing is, for young artists, everybody wants to be with Gagosian.
Yes.
Or everybody wants to be with Bilevneli, or wants to be with Yvon, with Perrotin. Or I always say you've got to find the right fit. So an anecdote is, for instance, there's this young painter who makes beautiful paintings of horses. Mm-hmm. But in the art world, in the contemporary art world, nobody is interested in paintings of horses. So the day that a sheikh who sees his work and says, "Can you do a portrait of my horses?" he becomes the most important artist for a whole community because he makes portraits of horses. I mean, you've got to find the gallery that fits you. I was lucky when I was, that history is too complex, but when I was still in Ghent, there were these two gentlemen, Bert de Leenheer and Dirk van Hekke, who were both professors. And they saw one of my shows, and I said, "Okay, come to my show in Paris. If you come to visit my show in Paris at Mayer, maybe I'll come and visit your gallery." So they came and visited the show in Paris. And after the show in Paris, I made a show with them in Belgium. And today we are more than 35 years later.
Gallery Transit.
And I still show with them. It means they are now retired. Bert is, I think, 75 or something. But they have continued to have they were teachers, professors, and this is their own house. And for years, the gallery was in their own house. So people would come and they would have coffee and tea, and then there was the show, and people would come and spend 4 or 5 hours in the gallery because they would talk, and there would be other artists, there would be other collectors, there would be other critics. So it's a very different type of gallery than what you imagine a gallery can be. And so that's a little bit, if we go back to your questions, you asked, how do you find your first gallery? You find it because you know who you want to show it, why you want to show it, who are the other artists that are with the gallery.
Okay, so I think we arrived to the mistakes of young artists. So what are the biggest mistakes that fresh art graduates commit, according to you, especially finding galleries part?
But first, thinking too much about the business and about the galleries. That's the first thing. It's first to think too much about business and galleries.
Yeah.
That's the first mistake. You've got first to think about the work.
Yeah.
And once the work is there, then the rest can come. The second thing is, a lot of the times they don't know the galleries they are dealing with. What I mean is, if you, I've worked a few weeks at the Galerie Meyer when they were on a holiday. And every day, there were 10 young artists coming to the gallery with their portfolio. And I would say, my first question would always be, why do you come to this gallery? And they would say, oh, it's a gallery. I said, but why? Why? That's the first question. Then, second question would be, who are the other artists showing at this gallery? How many shows have you seen at this gallery? Do you, why do you think you fit in this gallery? But they would say, no, but look at the portfolio. I said, you imagine looking at your portfolio takes me 15 minutes or 10 minutes. 10 minutes times 10 artists, that is, that's 100 minutes. How many hours? That's 2 hours a day, basically. So you mean, how much does that cost me? That cost me as a gallery dealer, each time I have to look at a file, it costs me a couple of hundreds of euros, because I cannot do anything else. So don't waste my time. Now, today, I think the wonderful thing there is happening today is that I spend way too much time on Instagram.
Yeah,
like
me too.
Lots of you. I spend way too much time on Instagram, but it's giving also a power to young artists, because I've got work here that I bought from a young artist who I saw on internet. The fact is that the portfolio, the physical portfolio, doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly.
The virtual portfolio has the same problem as it needs time. But there's a possibility today, in fact, with social media, to have access to material that you normally don't have. So I think for young artists, it's almost easier to get connections, because there are direct ways of getting contact. But again, the major thing is first focus on work, then focus on the market.
Exactly.
Then because what was your next question, maybe?